Cool.
Yep.
So there we are. So I'll be monitoring the chat, and I'm so glad we made it. Thank you for getting up early. I know you're way out in Wisconsin and it's early out there, and
Thank you.
maybe the sunshine that we have here will come to Wisconsin
That would be awesome.
soon. Yes, it's going to happen. Spring is on its way, and we'll all get outside at a distance and enjoy all of this.
Yes.
So before I get started this morning, Rochelle, I wanted to do what I do, which is give a quick digital marketing tip. And what I've been thinking about, especially because you and I were going to talk today, I've been thinking about how my clients, my heart-centered entrepreneurs, end up being able to show up in their online, right? So online, and to your point, like writing, like wherever you show up, it's important to show up as yourself. There are a million people that do all the things, but there's only one that does it the way that you do it. And so I know we're going to talk about as far as writing your story in a little bit, but here's what I wanted to share quickly. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because you know what? I just love PowerPoints. Sorry, Stacy Shipman. I love PowerPoints. Stacy says I don't need PowerPoints. So you see something big that says FAQs?
Yeah.
All right, so I think I might step back a bit. So what I want to tell people is when you're thinking about creating content for your website or for your social posts or for guest blogs, I like to have one main repository of, I love lists anyway, and I do love Excel, but in this case, I use a yellow pad of paper. And grab your notebook or your pad of paper or your Google Keep or wherever you're making a list, and start writing down all the questions anybody has ever asked you, maybe about yourself, if you're thinking about writing your book, but definitely about the work that you do, the services you provide, the products that you make. And I mean, every question, even the tough ones, especially the tough ones. Now, I'm not saying to answer those questions yet. What I'm really asking my community to do at this point is just start the list. Have it aside and just know that you have the list. So one of my favorite books is They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan, and he tells us to have an obsession to understand that one question, which is, what is my customer? And I would say to you, what is my prospect thinking? What are their questions? What are their pain points? What delights them? And then have on hand the answers. And I'm not kidding, it's so powerful. So I'm only going to go this far this week, and the next week I'm going to give you some more tips. I just want to give you an example. So this is my client, B&M Catering, and we started this project a number of years ago where we created one page where we list out every question, because the clients are asking the same questions over and over and over and over again on the phone and the people in the office are so very, very kind, and they go over and above to answer everything. But the best experiences is when a client will say, I looked at your frequently asked questions page, so I understand, and then they're going to take it to the next level. So that's my point, is by having the basic questions answered in the frequently asked questions page, that you've brought your clients closer to understanding who you are, what you do, who you serve, and now they can take it to the next level. And a quick suggestion is that if you have a bunch of frequently asked questions on your page, try to divide them up into some kind of category that makes sense to you. So that's step number one. I'm going to come back with step number two in next week's Thursday morning call, but I did want to talk about that a little bit today, especially knowing that that Rochelle was going to talk about writing, and I think some of this ties right into that. So now I get to do what I love, which is introduce you to another heart-centered entrepreneur who's doing all the good work out there. Rochelle is the owner of Right Now. She's a coach, rightnowcoach.com. And let me read you her official bio. Author and professional coach, Right Now Coach Rochelle Melander is a certified professional coach and experienced publishing strategist. She's the best-selling author of 11 books, and her books include Level Up, Quests to Master Mindset, Overcome Procrastination, and Increase Productivity. Amen to that. She provides solutions for people who feel stuck, overwhelmed, or confused by the publishing process. Rochelle is the founder of Dream Keepers. That's a writing workshop that supports teens to find their voice and share their stories. And today's topic is transforming your life and other people's lives through writing. But I want to just say quickly that when I asked Rochelle what is her superpower, clearly she said it's writing, but she did say it's helping people overcome blocks and write their story. And today we're going to talk about how Rochelle uses writing to manage anxiety and achieve her goals, and how writers can use these to transform your lives. And I know that we scheduled this meeting quite some time ago, but I don't think we could have picked a more perfect day to have you
Yes.
cover that topic.
Yes.
Tell me more about like writing to manage your anxiety.
So, I've had anxiety for a lot of my life, and I've always been a writer. And writing has always supported me in kind of getting that inner chatter out of my head and into, onto the page. So I don't have to burden everybody in my life with it. I can get it out of my head. And a couple years ago, I started a morning mindset routine, which has really helped me. And it combines a lot of the tools I've used and taught for many years. And it's become kind of a lifeline in the last few weeks. So I've been doing it for 2 years. So it's not like it's anything new, but knowing that I have this practice supports me, and I think it will support your listeners. I start every day with 3 pages, kind of what Julia Cameron called morning pages, but I do some specific things in those pages. I start by practicing gratitude. I feel like it's really important if we can focus our day on what we're grateful for. We're all losing so much, and we're in anticipatory anxiety and grief. So we're anticipating all the awful things that can happen, and we're anticipating all the things that we are going to lose, as well as losing stuff now. So if we can start with gratitude, that helps. And then I write down my intentions for the day. I feel like it can be very helpful. Especially on these days when, it's not different for most of us, it's not different from our daily life. As solopreneurs, we're working at home, we're working with clients online. Maybe we're not seeing so many people in person, and our group events have been canceled. But it's different because the distractions are like multiplied by 20. Yeah. And some of the distractions are amazing. Like I took a dance class with Debbie Allen. Of fame. That was amazing. But you can't do that all day if you're going to get work done. So I set my intentions for the day. And then I do a daily vision. And my daily vision just fast forwards to the end of the day, to the end of the week. Right now I've been fast forwarding to the end of the quarantine to help manage my anxiety. And I fast forward and kind of write a statement as if we've all survived this and things are great. What does it look like? I write in the present tense. It can be a very helpful way for you to manage your day, to kind of fast forward and say, by the end of today, I finished my blog post and it turned out well. The writing was seamless. And then the last thing I do is a simple incantation. And this is just a positive saying that will help you get through your day. And sometimes it can help to take something that really has been bothering you and twist it. So if your inner dialogue is like, well, I'm not good enough for this, or I'm not strong enough for this, then you flip it to, I have all the strength I need to manage today. I have all the gifts I need. My superpower will get me through today. And then you can take that into your day. But those 4 simple tools are a great way to manage your anxiety. And set you on a path of productivity for your day. Plus, sometimes in that, journaling in the morning, you'll come up with ideas for how you can serve your community and your client base.
That's been a very big focus for me. I just sent an email out this morning on exactly that. You know, when this crazy time happened, I thought, and also I'm in digital marketing, and I know that it's a challenge for people to show up. And so that's why when I give my spiels and I talk and I have my signature talk and I have everything that I write, it is to remind people and remind myself that I have something to offer people, and how can we be of service? And because we're language oriented, we can do it in writing, we can do it speaking out loud, we can dance, we can do yoga, we can meditate. But the fact is that now more than ever, we need to show up and be of service. And with the practices that you just mentioned, I think that's a really powerful way to get what could be like very scattered, maybe even scary or confusing thoughts, and to funnel them into something that's manageable and gives you a sense of calm.
Yeah.
Do you find that happens when you do those exercises?
Yeah. So, I feel like that when, often when I sit down to the page in the morning, there's a lot going on. And then I can kind of get it all down on the page. With morning pages, which is just, writing 3 sloppy pages of what's going on. You can then go back through it and underline, well, maybe there's like a blog post here, or maybe there's what I would call a Facebook native post, which is just a shorter kind of informational post that you post on Facebook without even a photo. And I'm finding those are the most effective right now, that people don't necessarily have the bandwidth to go read a whole blog post. But if you can write like a short bit of information, like what's my intention for today and how can that help my clients, or what am I grateful for today? I was sharing about this on another page, and someone talked about their practice of writing down and sharing with their clients what they were grateful for every day for a long period of time. And it seemed like such a simple but transformational way of working with your clients, because you're leading by example.
Yes. Well, so yes, to everything that I said, right? Show up as yourself, show up in service, show up because you're the one that they want. There's a million coaches out there, but there's only one you. But I'm going to tell you something now from a digital marketing standpoint, how what you just mentioned, writing down like a longer post, maybe no images, just kind of a story or a thought process to share. I want to tell you how that worked out in an analytics way for one of my clients. One of my clients, her business page was almost the same name as her own. I think she maybe used her married name one place and her maiden name as her business page. And what she would do is every morning she would, similar to what you were saying, tell a story. This morning I woke up and, the boys were fighting as usual and and we took some time. And by the time they sat down for their waffles, so she tells a whole long story. And she's lovely, and her superpower is calm, and people are drawn to her. But let me tell you what happens analytically. Analytically, her story shows up in your Facebook feed. And then because it's a long story, if you want to see the end of the story, like how the waffles turned out, you have to click read more. And so
Right.
by clicking read more, you go and you read the rest of the story. That bumps up your algorithm in Facebook, because now Facebook says, oh, look, people are engaging with this post. And now it's going to automatically show more people that post.
Nice. I
Yeah.
love
So there's 2 pieces of wisdom right there in your one tip. I like
I
that.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like this is, it's so hard to focus right now. It really is. And I've written many books, but I feel like this is a really good time for people to start jotting down what their inklings are if they want to write a book, to start jotting those down, start taking notes. If you can grab an hour for yourself every day, just start brainstorming on how your story can serve a purpose in the world. And it's interesting. I've been studying Darwin this week because I'm writing a little book of biographies. Darwin had what was called Darwin's delay. He had his idea for his big theory when he was quite young, in his 20s. he didn't publish his book until he was 51, mainly because he was terrified. He was also a procrastinator, but he was terrified of how this would be taken in, especially by a more conservative group of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of the coaches and people I work with are really, even though they love to help people, they're terrified to share their own story. And they're terrified to kind of write their book. And so what I encourage you to do is use this time, which is essentially a pause or a delay in daily life, to start jotting down your notes and to think about the greater purpose. Because my sense is that we can avoid that delay, we can avoid that anxiety if we get connected to our purpose. So if we can realize that the story we are telling can serve someone, that it can help someone overcome a situation. So I never talked about my anxiety or my fear until I realized that talking about it could help other people who are feeling afraid. And then it was like, oh, well, why wouldn't I share this if my story of overcoming this can support other people? And that's why I talk about, how other people can manage their anxiety to write a book, because it serves that larger purpose. It helps people to get their stories out there. And when I say writing to transform, writing will transform your life, but your story, how you've transformed your life, will transform other people's lives. And that's really an amazing experience, to realize that your words have gone beyond you to help other people.
That's so powerful. So, and I know I have spoken to so many people who are like, yes, I need to write my story. And if you're the one, somebody's listening to this, even to the replay of this, and it's like, oh, you're talking about me, Susan? I'm like, yes, I'm talking about you. We've talked about it. I'm talking to myself. It seems overwhelming, a book, right? What are your suggestions for, I imagine you have to break it down somehow. How do you get started?
That's you've got it. You've nailed it. So I think, once you have an idea for a book, and the first thing I think that's really helpful to do is start thinking about, what's your topic? How can you kind of frame your topic in a book, in a way that's going to be small bite-sized pieces? And so I always encourage people to go and browse online for books like theirs. So, some of the things that I found are really helpful, like Brene Brown's first book, was a series of kind of 12 guideposts that you could use to follow your life. So that's a great format, 10 guideposts for living a fearless life, or 6 rules for losing weight and living, your best life. So coming up with some sort of a structure like that can be helpful. When I think about structures, it's great if your structure has kind of tiny little chunks. So maybe in the first chapter, you tell your story, and then you go into little chunks of action steps. So then you have like 10 action steps. So already things are a little bit smaller. So you have your framework, and then you have kind of smaller topics. Another framework that's really helpful is kind of a collection of essays, a collection of like 50 blog posts. So if someone has already been keeping a blog for a few years, you can look at that and say, what are the themes? What's the unifying thing that puts this all together and helps me get it into the world? So you get your topic, then you get your structure, and then you list kind of what are your small topics under that, what's going to go into that. And then that becomes kind of your guidebook or your map. And then with each of those small topics, I encourage people to break it into even tinier topics. So let's say you're talking about, let's say I wanted to write a chapter on my morning mindset routine. And so the things that I do, so I call it morning pages. I practice gratitude, intention, vision, and incantation. Well, just thinking about all that is too much. It makes your amygdala freak out. And so you actually are causing a panic attack by this big step.
Yeah.
So what you can do for your amygdala is think about a tiny step. And then you kind of tiptoe by your amygdala. And your amygdala is just like, oh, well, a tiny step's no big deal. That's fine. Go ahead, do that. So you think, okay, so I think I'm just going to write about morning pages, just one paragraph. So that day you write your one paragraph, and then you think, well, tomorrow I think I'll write about gratitude. And you write that down on your page, you think about it over the next day, and then the next morning you get up and you write your one paragraph. And by breaking it into those tiny steps, you're writing a book, but you're writing it over a long period of time in tiny little pieces. So when any of us think about writing a book, it's scary. But when you think about writing a paragraph, you got that. You can do it.
We should stop right there because that was so freaking brilliant.
Oh, good.
So good.
Oh, I'm glad.
I can't wait to transcribe this and put it into the blog post, because that, I think, is what people need to hear. It's what I need to hear. I have a vision for my book. It's going to be called Digital Marketing as an Act of Service. I know I have my 5 cornerstones. I am going to be basing most of it off of these interviews that I do with people.
Oh, that's great.
I've been interviewing people for 2 years. I should have started when I had this first idea and I only had 6 people. I should have started writing my paragraphs then. Now it already seems bigger because now I've got to go back 24, 50 people to see what I've got. But yeah, I think everybody does have a book. And again, from a digital marketing or even a marketing standpoint, so all of the good things about getting your book out there, getting your story out there for the people it needs to serve, that is the number one and top reason, I believe, to write a book. But I'm going to go back to the marketing side of it, which is it lends credibility to who you are. I am Susan Finn. I'm a speaker and author of da, 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 and I'm speaking to you today on that topic, right? So even if, you can have your big book, but then I know with a group that I'm working on, we make just the little, not little, it's still important stuff, but it's not a big tome. It's just a nice small book that you can hand out kind of as a business card or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that's a helpful way to kind of think about it. I really do encourage people not to think about their books as having to be 80 or 100,000 words. That's a lot. So think in the range of 25,000 words. Or even, if you're doing a little book that you're going to give away as a freebie for signing up for your newsletter, then think about a 5,000 word thing.
Right.
And also think about your book in the way people read today. People don't read, for the most part, we're not reading 5,000 word articles.
Right.
We're reading like sometimes 1,200 word blog posts at the longest end. But think about those blog posts are broken up into tiny little 100, 150 word chunks with headers.
Yes.
And so when you think about it that way, that is how your reader's going to take it in. And that might be how you best write it.
I like that a lot. I like that suggestion. I've gotten to the point, because I'm on digital all of the time and I'm consuming so much content all of the time in my work, that if I get a regular email and it's like 4 or 5 paragraphs of just text, I actually have to copy it over to a Word doc and highlight it and bullet it myself so that my brain will understand what is the important thing I have to understand. If it's something important, if it's a committee that I have to deal with, I have to kind of break it up if it hasn't been broken up for me. Yeah.
So that's so insightful, because you're doing work that the writer should have done.
Yeah.
And I think that tells me that you know how to do this for your readers, and you know how to teach this to your readers. And so all of us need to think then about our readers once we've put together our content, and think, okay, so what's going to make this content easier for my readers to digest? And what parts of this content might be confusing? And I think one of the things I notice the most with my clients is that they're so immersed in their work, that they have language that they use that nobody has a clue about.
Yes.
And and it might be jargon from their profession. It might be words that their clients or their closest allies know because they use it a lot,
Yes.
but it needs a little more unpacking. Or it just might be shorthand, intuitive things that the people closest to them get, but other people don't. And so it's important to look at that and really think, does someone who's never read my stuff, will they understand this post.
And I think it's important too to have somebody else read it, right? I
Yes.
would imagine. So let's, as I think we could talk about this all day, but you mentioned when you work with your clients, tell me more about what it is you do and how it is you work with clients, what service you provide for them.
So kind of everything from idea to publication. So we start by working with kind of putting together, strategizing what that idea is going to be, that's going to be of the most service to their client, and the most connected to them making sales. So something that's going to actually really serve a purpose. And then we talk about how to develop that content. And I work with people in overcoming all the blocks that they have to get that content onto paper. And then finally, we work around strategizing that publishing path. Some people are in a place where they can go traditional and get an agent and all that stuff. Other people are really going to be better served by doing it themselves.
Oh, really?
And so we talk about what's the best path for you. And I think for most solopreneurs, self-publishing, or what I call indie publishing, is better because you control the content, you control the cover, you control the distribution. And that can be super helpful. So we talk through all of those things. I am not a ghostwriter, but I can encourage you and refer you to ghostwriters. And then the other thing I do is work with people, around kind of how that content looks and appears. So we work on editing and making it sound better. So those are all things I do. I work in groups and individually.
That's awesome. I just was putting in the link to your website on the Facebook Live, and I'll put it in this blog post or wherever you're seeing this recording later. This is amazing. I noticed that while I was looking for your link too, that you have an offer. You said you're offering a free subscription to your tips and to your book, which is called Write Your Book This Year.
Yes.
And you're on writenowcoach.com. And then there's a extension to that, Right Now Tips. And I'll put that link up there so that people can see that. Thank you so much for spending this morning with me.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, this was great. I think that a lot of people will be interested. And you know what? What better time than now to start writing a paragraph a day, right? And then, right, 2 months later, we've got all those paragraphs, and it's going to.
That's right.
Right.
That's perfect.
Thank you so much. I honor what you're doing. I appreciate you showing up for me today and for the group.
Thank you.
I'll talk
Great
to you
to
soon.
meet you. Take care.
Take care.